The story opens with pure chaos as a guy suddenly splashes water straight into a waiter's face. He apologizes as if he just committed a public offense, and the waiter stands there, questioning every life choice. Inside his head, today is already cursed after surviving earlier unhinged customers. This unlucky hero is Akiyama Teppei, a 20-year-old who is cool on the outside and permanently tired on the inside. He barely recovers before rushing back to the counter, where he's handed the ultimate side quest, 10 mugs of beer to the second floor. Orders keep coming, his energy continues to drain, and all he wants is to go home and disappear. Some crazy customers casually start name-dropping Karin-chan, like she's the real reason this place exists. Nakamura Karin is a sweet 20-year-old girl from the same university, working the same part-time job and caught in the same emotional disaster. The MC notices a guy trying to flirt with Karen. Without thinking much, he tries to save her by calling out to her and telling her that she is being called to the bamboo room. The management tells her to make sure those customers order the expensive steak. They clearly belong to completely different worlds. He struggles around extroverts and girls, while she is bright and friendly and seems to win at life without even trying. To him, she looks like the type of person who could get anything she wants as long as she decides to go for it. As expected, she easily convinces the customers to order the expensive drink, leaving everyone impressed and him quietly wondering how that even looked so easy. After that, their shift ends, and the staff say goodnight while thanking each other for their hard work. Later, as he buys a drink for himself, he reflects on how terrible the day has been. While lost in thought, a coin slips from his hand and rolls onto the road. He does not notice the car coming toward him until the last moment. Suddenly, Nakamura runs up from behind and pulls his arm, saving him from the accident. She scolds him for being careless, and in the sudden movement, her chest presses against his face. Shocked and flustered, he keeps apologizing and calls her name. She tells him that if she had not been there, he would have been dead. As the car passes, he finally thanks her sincerely, admitting that he owes her his life. She smiles, hands his coin back to him, and jokingly tells him that she will collect that debt someday. The scene shifts to the cutie herself, standing in his apartment, surrounded by an unreasonable amount of luggage. She complains about everything nonstop, while he just stares at the bags like they might start multiplying if he looks away. When he finally asks, she cheerfully scans the room, casually judging the Western-style layout, acting as if the apartment has quietly accepted her as its new owner. She then explains, far too casually, that her old place is being torn down, forcing her to move out immediately and nearly leaving her with nowhere to stay. It dawns on him late that she really plans to stay here with him. He desperately suggests manga cafes, but she immediately shuts that down. It would be dangerous for a young, cute girl like her to stay in a place like that. He tries to argue that barging into the home of a guy is also dangerous, but she casually asks if he plans to hurt her, instantly deleting his ability to respond. Seeing him freeze on the spot, she proudly declares that this proves she is much safer here than at a manga cafe. She reassures him that it's only temporary, just until she finds a new place, and asks where she should put her things, already moving before he can answer. He feels like the universe has personally singled him out at the end of an already awful day. She admires his anime posters as if she's wandered into a museum, then throws herself onto his bed without hesitation. He panics and tries to protest, but when she inquires if he's planning something suspicious, his courage crumbles. Instead, he carefully covers her with a blanket, decides to sleep in the living room like a respectable background character, and quietly leaves the room. Once alone, she suddenly feels embarrassed that she had the nerve to come this far, then immediately lies down, pretends to sleep, and shuts her eyes. And just like that, destiny decided they would be living together. The next morning, Akiyama is passed out like a puppy when he suddenly feels someone sitting angrily on his back. She's wearing an oversized t-shirt that looks suspiciously like his. The heroine announces that she's hungry, making him groan in disbelief. She leans forward and curiously inspects where he usually sleeps. He explains that he often crashes in the living room, trying to make it sound casual. She seems completely unbothered and cheerfully says she isn't worried, which only makes him feel more awkward. Akiyama notices that the shirt she's wearing is his. Nakamura casually admits that she just borrowed it since it was lying around in his room. He reluctantly accepts it, still unsure how to react. Before he can think further, she leans closer with a mischievous glint, teasing him that she's about to give him some kind of reward. His mind immediately races as she continues to get closer and make him more flustered. She playfully lifts the edge of her oversized shirt, revealing that she's wearing shorts underneath, and makes it clear that it's definitely not anything unethical. The sudden reveal catches him off guard, and she teases him for clearly staring despite his protests. Her mischievous smile shows she's enjoying how flustered he is, and it's obvious she's not someone easy to read or get close to. Even as she hints at the service she mentioned earlier, her smirk shows she's just having fun with him. The cutie knows exactly how to push his embarrassment without going too far. She makes it clear that wearing his shirt like this isn't just casual, it's a playful way to tease him, knowing that most guys would secretly find it flattering. He hesitates, not sure how to react. The way she talks about it sounds like something only someone who likes him would say. She tries to change the topic. She blushes, lightly pushing him and calling him a slob for not noticing how hungry she's been. He tries to explain that his usual breakfast is just natto and miso soup, which he assumes is fine. She seems completely okay with it, even though it's already lunch, and he can't help but wonder if girls like her are really fine with skipping things like pancakes. She hits him lightly and scolds him for having such weird ideas, joking that eating pancakes every day would make her fat. He goes on to make her a proper lunch, and she digs into the rice, clearly enjoying it and praising its deliciousness. He's surprised to see her actually eating natto and seeming used to it. While enjoying the meal, she asks if he makes the miso soup himself. He replies it's usually just for him, and she casually says she sometimes makes it from scratch too. He's surprised, and she jokes about having cheated with the dashi before, but promises she'll make it properly next time, and asks what sides he likes. They finish their lunch, and she thanks him again. She then asks about his plans for the day. He says he's off work but still has classes and asks about her schedule. She proudly announces she has a true day off, with nothing to do. Immediately, she makes herself comfortable, sitting as if she owns the place, complaining that there's nothing good on TV, and planning to look around the apartment for something to do. Akiyama panics, shouting at her to stop and look for a new apartment instead. She asks if he wants to kick her out, but our chaos hero warns her to avoid looking at anything unnecessary in his apartment. She sits like a proper heroine and scoffs, insisting she knows what not to touch, though she immediately notices that this room doesn't scream otaku as much as the bedroom. Crawling across the apartment like a tiny inspector, she checks every corner while he nervously points out that there are still some games and manga around. Suddenly, her hands land on a skinny book. She flips through it curiously, only to discover its content. She slams it shut instantly while Akiyama panics internally, feeling as if all his secrets have been exposed in front of her. He mutters something about buying a storage box for it and suggests they put it away, and her curiosity is clearly sparked. Once he leaves for the day, she flops dramatically onto the bed, thinking about how somehow she ended up feeling strung along. She reassures herself that she can handle this. Meanwhile, he walks out the door, his mind stuck on storage boxes and locks, while secretly plotting to protect his remaining secrets. The scene takes a sharp turn when Miss Teasing is caught on a call with her friend, chatting excitedly about her latest chaos. Her friend nearly drops the phone upon hearing the news. Karen is now living with Akiyama. Karen happily shares that his apartment is pretty big, though inconveniently far from the station, and that she's already moved some of her things over. Her friend is less impressed with the logistics and more concerned about Karen's impulsive decisions. She teases her, saying this is exactly the kind of reckless thing she always does, then suddenly guesses the real reason behind it, a crush on Akiyama. Karen flushes bright red and protests in shock, demanding to know how her friend could possibly know. The answer is simple. Her staring at him at work has been obvious for a while. Her friend warns her not to judge a guy solely by his mild-mannered appearance. Karen freezes. Her imagination runs wild, picturing him as a completely unpredictable character with the strangest possible thoughts. She also recalls her unexplained frustration from the night before. Her friend's words sink in. No matter how harmless he seems, rushing in without clearing things up could only make her look foolish. Karen falls silent, thinking deeply. Slowly, she realizes her friend is right. Before giving her heart to Akiyama, she needs to understand him better and clear up any misunderstandings. As soon as Karen sets her eyes on Akiyama, he practically jumps out of his skin as if he's done something terribly wrong. He awkwardly announces that he's home, but her glare makes it clear this is no ordinary greeting. Before he can process what's happening, the tiny judo devil opens her arms, daring him to attack her. Akiyama stands there like a dummy, completely baffled. Hesitantly, he lifts his arm and steps forward, only to be grabbed, kicked, and slammed onto the bed instantly. Karen sits triumphantly, pinning both his hands as her face glows with smug satisfaction. She clearly enjoys proving that girls can be strong, quick, and utterly terrifying when they want to be. Akiyama is left in total shock. He asks her to let him go, admitting that being pinned like this on the bed is more than a little awkward. Karen suddenly realizes the position they're in. Her face burns red with embarrassment. She scolds him and hits him multiple times. Akiyama desperately insists he wasn't thinking about anything weird. Then, in classic slapstick fashion, her leg slips off the bed. She nearly falls, but Akiyama instinctively leans forward and catches her. The result is an accidental yet perfectly cute romantic moment, their faces ending up dangerously close. Before he can think, she slaps him again, half embarrassed, half apologetic. Still reeling from the chaos, Akiyama wonders if her earlier boast about being the strongest and best came from Magical Girl Rirururu, an anime about a girl who single-handedly saves the world. Karen blushes and sheepishly pulls something from her bag, thanking him for protecting her and apologizing again for hitting him. Before Akiyama can fully process her sudden politeness, she spins around and produces a magic wand. She insists this is precisely what Rirururu would do. He stares in shock at the wand. He freezes at the sight of the cute magic wand in her hand, his brain short-circuiting a second too late. Before he can process it, Nakamura proudly digs back into her bag, pulling out cards, a DVD box set, stationery, and plushies, each reveal making her happier than the last. She looks genuinely proud, like she's showing off rare treasures. That's when it finally clicks for him. Nakamura is an otaku. Still, it's obvious how much she loves it. He can't help but admire how carefully everything is kept, especially for a series that's more than 10 years old. Her passion is real. She casually explains that she owns 3 magic wands, one for storage, one for display, and one strictly for playing around. Our MC silently labels it as both extremely hardcore and painfully childish. Once things calm down, they sit together and talk about the show. He reflects on how revolutionary it was when it first aired and how popular it became. She immediately agrees, bursting with excitement, reenacting moves from the series, and nearly knocking him over in the process. She explains that despite being called a magical girl anime, most of the fights were pure hand-to-hand combat. Since she was practicing judo back then, she fully embraced it, sometimes a little too much. She laughs about using the magic wand like a blunt weapon and proudly recalls the phrase that stuck with her ever since, "Girls are the strongest and best." She excitedly shows him the DVDs, clearly having the time of her life, and admits she hasn't enjoyed talking about this kind of stuff in ages. In a sudden burst of confidence, she suggests watching them together as if it's the most natural idea in the world. He agrees, though he hesitates, quietly wondering why she doesn't just watch or talk about this with her other friends. That question makes her slow down. She claims that she stopped talking about anime with her friends a long time ago. It wasn't something she hid, but their interests drifted toward more popular topics, and little by little, she felt like she was the only one still holding on to Rirururu. She then recalls her very first day at work, how nervous she was, and how she silently relied on Rirururu for courage. She asks if he remembers it. The problem is, he absolutely does not. When he admits this, she gets visibly upset. Apparently, that moment meant a lot to her. She had been so happy back then that she nearly burst with excitement. He tries to recover, explaining that he remembers thinking something similar, mostly because her hairstyle reminded him of the character and he might have accidentally said it out loud. She confesses that after that day, she wanted to talk to him properly, but every time work ended, he disappeared straight home like a side character avoiding extra scenes. She admits she could have spoken up for herself, but had no idea what she was supposed to say. The thought alone clearly still embarrasses her. As her face turns bright red, she slowly moves her hand closer to him, gathers all her courage, and awkwardly asks if he would be willing to be friends. He is completely stunned, eyes widening like his brain just blue-screened. She nervously fidgets, then gently moves his hand as if sealing the deal. Clearly relieved and blushing hard. Smiling to herself, she casually concludes that this must mean she doesn't need to rush into finding a new place anymore. After all, helping out a friend in trouble is just what friends do. The realization hits him like emotional whiplash. Before he can properly react, she cheerfully announces that she's going to take a bath and casually claims his bathroom, as if it's already part of her daily routine. The moment she leaves, he collapses forward and thumps his head against the table, his stress levels instantly maxed out. It hasn't even been a full month, and his brain is already warning him that careless decisions like this can easily turn into a year-long situation. Still, despite the panic, one thought keeps sneaking back in. No one has ever said something like that to him before. Friends. Maybe that's fine for now. He isn't even sure if this is how friendships usually work for girls, but his experience in that area is clearly limited. The apartment grows suspiciously quiet. After nearly an hour, his anxiety starts running laps. He wonders if she's even okay in there, suddenly convinced she might not be used to his bathroom at all. Nervous energy takes over. He calls out, no response. His heart starts pounding as his imagination jumps straight to the worst-case scenario. Acting purely on panic, he throws the door open. Inside, she's completely fine, calmly bathing like nothing in the world could be wrong. Their eyes meet. His soul leaves his body. He freezes on the spot. She reacts instantly, splashing water straight at him in fury. He snaps back to reality just long enough to freak out, apologize loudly, and realize, far too late, that this day is still very much not done with him. Later, as they sit down to eat, she immediately claims his pickled ginger with the authority of someone running a small but ruthless operation. He hands it over without resistance, fully aware that this is not a negotiation. Her glare alone makes it clear that this is punishment, not sharing. She firmly decides that this single mistake has earned him a lifetime ban from pickled ginger. The words "rest of his life" echo dramatically in his head as she continues to stare him down. After asserting her victory, she finally apologizes for taking so long in the bath and admits she got a little carried away. He asks what exactly she got carried away with, and her tone suddenly shifts. She hesitates, fidgets, and admits it was the first time a guy had ever seen her like that. That thought spirals in her head, making her wonder if she looked strange, or if there was anything about it he might have noticed. He freezes, trying to process the question. She snaps immediately, convinced his thoughts have gone somewhere illegal, and shuts the topic down before he can even finish thinking. He mentally admits defeat, once again failing to understand her at all. She's a girl, an otaku, confident, chaotic, and somehow capable of weaponizing embarrassment, and despite how casually she dresses and how boldly she acts, he knows one thing for sure: there wasn't anything strange about it. Unfortunately, the moment that thought crosses his mind, she instantly clocks it and jabs him again, as if she can read his thoughts with terrifying accuracy. He's left wondering how she keeps doing that. They continue eating in tense silence until she suddenly presses a manga DVD straight into his face, interrupting both his meal and his already fragile peace. He just accepts that this is his life now. She reminds him that earlier he had already agreed to watch the DVDs with her. That finally jogs his memory, and he realizes she's talking about the Rirururu DVDs. She immediately starts the video with obvious excitement, and the moment it plays, a wave of nostalgia hits him. It genuinely brings him back. As the episode continues, he sneaks a glance at her and instantly notices how different she looks. Her face is completely lit up, her eyes wide and sparkling, like she's seeing something precious, rather than just re-watching an old show. She's clearly deep into it, leaning forward, completely absorbed. This is her weak spot, and she doesn't even notice how obvious it is. It almost feels like she's watching it for the very first time again. She suddenly gets animated, pointing to a flying kick scene she used to replay frame by frame. The moment she realizes he's been looking at her instead of the screen, she panics and snaps at him to focus on the TV already. He awkwardly responds that she just seemed different from usual, mostly because she isn't wearing any makeup. Unfortunately, he makes the fatal mistake of adding that it makes her look more childish. That comment earns him an immediate cushion attack, delivered with zero hesitation. A second later, she's already over it and proudly announces that she used to copy the ending dance perfectly. She jumps up and starts matching the moves from the screen, clearly enjoying herself. She even tries to pull him into it, insisting she'll teach him. He applauds politely, impressed but very much choosing survival over participation. That's when she hits him with the final blow, reminding him that after what happened earlier, he really doesn't have the right to refuse anything so easily anymore. She grabs him and drags him into the dance before he can even process what's happening. Panic flashes through his mind as he wonders what other cards she might still be holding, but the thought doesn't last long. Once he starts moving with her, everything oddly clicks into place. Watching her dance so freely, he finally understands. This is why she is the way she is. Strong, confident, loud when she wants to be, and unapologetically herself. Ever since she was little, she loved Rirururu and wanted to grow up both strong and cute, just like her hero. The Nakamura standing in front of him now feels like the natural result of that childhood dream. Just as he reaches this strangely wholesome realization, the doorbell rings, cutting the moment clean in half. Exhaustion washes over him immediately. She casually suggests taking another shower, then notes that someone's at the door. He quickly offers to handle it, hoping it's just a delivery. They open the door together. Sure enough, it's a package addressed to him. He signs for it and thanks the delivery worker, trying hard not to think about how messy and exhausted the worker probably looks. When the delivery man leaves, he wears a knowing expression that does nothing to ease his stress. Curious, she immediately asks what the package is. He explains that it's some anime DVDs he ordered, which instantly sparks her interest. She insists on watching them, explaining that sharing each other's favorite anime is precisely the kind of nerdy friendship moment she's always wanted. After dragging him through her interests all day, she now wants to know what he's into too. He barely has time to react before the video starts playing. Unfortunately, the content is far more questionable than he expected. She immediately hits him in the face with a cushion, clearly unimpressed. He scrambles to defend himself, insisting she wanted to watch it and that it's not even that extreme by today's standards. That's when it hits him. Living with her will be exhausting. The scene shifts to the almost couple as they head to work together when she casually drops a bomb that nearly stops him in his tracks. She has already told Enomoto that they are living together. His internal alarms go off instantly. To him, this is absolutely not something you casually share with coworkers, especially not when rumors at work spread faster than gossip in a break room. He quietly begs her to keep things low-key, imagining worst-case scenarios flashing through his head. Nakamura, on the other hand, sees no problem at all. In fact, she finds his panic amusing and teases him, suggesting he probably wants to show it off, living together with a cute girl and all. As usual, he can only wonder where girls get this kind of unshakable confidence, since it clearly doesn't exist in his world. When they arrive, Inamoto is already there. He immediately notices they came in together and things get awkward fast. Before our lad can scramble for an explanation, she casually tells Inamoto to keep it quiet. He agrees without fuss, but warns that this absolutely cannot reach Goto's ears. Naturally, the universe doesn't cooperate. Goto appears right behind them, loud as ever, asking what everyone was whispering about. Akiyama practically freezes. Goto immediately turns his attention to Karin, asking about her apartment search as if it's his personal business. She shuts that conversation down without hesitation and heads off to change, leaving Goto in visible disbelief. Once she's gone, Enomoto quietly points out the obvious. Goto is trouble. If he finds out about the living situation, work will become unbearable. Their loud shift kicks off like always. In the middle of the chaos, Nakamura casually glances at Akiyama, who looks as if his soul is slowly leaving his body. He notices her looking and tries to ask if something's wrong. Instead of answering normally, she strikes an exaggerated rirururu pose. Akiyama panics internally and pretends not to see it. All he can think about is how close they are to being exposed. Unfortunately, she takes his silence as encouragement and keeps teasing him with even more ridiculous poses. He responds by acting like she doesn't exist at all, even though it's clearly costing him years off his lifespan. Eventually, he's given a break and sent out to take the trash, which feels less like a chore and more like a rescue mission. Outside, he finally breathes, thinking about how exhausted he's become in record time. That peace lasts exactly 2 seconds. Enomoto is already there, calmly enjoying a cigarette. She greets him like this is the most normal coincidence in the world. He makes small talk, then notices the cigarette. She quickly puts it out and declares she doesn't want Nakamura finding out, since she'd definitely try to copy her just to look grown up. She may act confident and bold, but she's still surprisingly childish in her own way. Akiyama can't help but agree, and Enomoto immediately clocks that he understands her better than most. She casually points out that Nakamura is a handful but a good kid and tells him to take care of her. She even offers her contact information, just in case things ever get out of hand. Then her tone sharpens slightly. If Nakamura ever cries because of him, there will be serious consequences. Akiyama stands there, mentally overwhelmed, wondering how his life turned into a series of silent threats from everyone around him. Before he can recover, he suddenly senses someone behind him. It's Nakamura. She slams him against the wall, catching him completely off guard. His brain instantly screams about how visible this spot is, and how badly this could end if someone walks by. Apparently, ignoring her was not the correct choice. She cutely asks if they need to keep it a secret. He apologizes, saying he doesn't know exactly how to reply, but promises to answer in a way that won't give them away. She mischievously suggests blowing a kiss. Though he thinks she's teasing him again, he goes along with it. At that exact moment, Goto barges in between them, completely misunderstanding the gesture. Nakamura immediately bursts out laughing at the absurdity of the situation, while he freezes, caught in the middle of the chaos. The next morning, the alarm clock rings, and before Akiyama can properly wake up, Nakamura crawls onto him and whispers that his meal is ready. The sound hits him straight in the soul. His eyes fly open, panic takes over, and without thinking, he pushes her away with full force. She lands on the floor with a dramatic flop, like a fish that lost a fight with gravity. Reality hits him instantly. He freezes, panics, and scrambles to apologize, fully expecting disaster. Instead, she bursts out laughing. To make things worse for his heart, she's standing there in an apron, looking far too cheerful for someone who just got launched off a bed. Akiyama stares at her in disbelief. She's in a great mood. She's not angry. Somehow, this is funny to her. She cheerfully asks what he thought of her wake-up call and teases him about how badly he freaked out, casually comparing it to something straight out of a newlywed scene. He laughs too, admitting that he honestly thought some monster had attacked him. That only encourages her. She starts telling creepy ghost stories about women whispering in someone's ear just before something terrible happens. Then, proudly, she announces that she made miso soup for them, just like she promised, and even added all of his favorite toppings. He's genuinely impressed and ready to sit down until he suddenly realizes what's missing. There's no rice. Excitement freezes mid-step as he stares at the table, realizing breakfast has one important flaw. She casually admits that she completely forgot to make it. The The realization hits him with a dull clunk of disappointment, but he quickly recovers, explaining that he had intended to eat bread anyway since he didn't know she was making miso soup. To prove it, he shows her the empty rice container. With no rice left to save the situation, they settle for an improvised breakfast of miso soup paired with bread and whatever else they can find. He enjoys it without complaint, confidently insisting that bread pairs perfectly with miso soup. She, however, sips the soup with visible frustration. In her mind, miso soup belongs with steaming white rice, not sweet bread slathered in jam. The salty soup and sugary bite only fuel her irritation. He calmly points out that the real problem might be the excessive amount of jam she used. Still, he sincerely admits that the soup is genuinely delicious. That praise only fires her up. She slams her hand on the table and dramatically declares vengeance, announcing that she will also be making dinner tonight. He freezes, unsure what kind of fate that promise holds. Time skips ahead to 7 in the evening. Rice is finally cooked. Meat is prepped, and everything seems surprisingly organized. She confidently announces the menu with a flourish: pork fried in ginger sauce. Hearing that, he relaxes, convinced that nothing could go wrong with such a safe dish. Still, a small part of him worries that she might explode again if things don't go perfectly. She moves enthusiastically into the cooking phase, pouring oil into the pan. His calm instantly vanishes. There's clearly far too much oil. Before he can warn her, disaster strikes. Hot oil splatters, and she bumps into him while shouting in pain. He panics, asking if she's all right, immediately switching into emergency mode. He rushes her toward the water, insisting the shower will cool it down fastest. Afterward, she sits there, tears forming as the sting lingers. He carefully checks the injury and notices a small burn. When he touches it to inspect it, she cries out sharply from the pain. He pulls back quickly, relieved that it doesn't look too serious. Still, concern is written all over his face. She looks up at him through the pain and asks if he has any medicine for burns. A delayed realization finally crashes into his brain. He notices, far too late, that he touched her without thinking. His thoughts spiral in pure panic as he tries to rationalize it. Maybe it was just the boundary between her shoulder and somewhere else. Surely that was safe territory. Probably. But the longer he overthinks it, the worse it gets. His hand hesitates, confusion rising, until the truth hits him like a slap. She smacks him square on the head, loudly declaring that his hand was absolutely not where it was supposed to be. His soul exits his body on the spot. Immediate apology mode activates. Later, dinner is finally complete. The food turns out surprisingly amazing, and he blurts out praise about how good the marinated meat tastes. She responds with a stubborn huff, still clearly holding a grudge over earlier events. He realizes she's still upset and tries to apologize again, but she's already lost in her own thoughts. She quietly admits that she wanted to help, even just a little, that she feels bad relying on him so much, like she's freeloading. The mood shifts. He notices it instantly and shuts that idea down hard. He insists she doesn't need to do anything at all and suddenly declares that tomorrow he'll spend the whole day cooking for her, specifically beef stroganoff. There's only one small issue: he's never made it before. She panics immediately, imagination running wild as disaster scenarios flash before her eyes. Still, he calmly reassures her. To him, just being able to eat together already improves everything's taste. That comment earns him another explosive reaction. She accuses him of implying that pretty girls are some kind of universal seasoning. He backs off awkwardly, muttering that at least nothing truly terrible happened. The next morning, he proudly presents the miso soup he made for her. She stares into the bowl in disbelief. This time, there are barely any of her favorite toppings at all, and just like that, another argument is ready to begin. The scene shifts to Nakamura sitting across from her friend Enomoto at a cafe. Nakamura is visibly flustered, loudly insisting that there's absolutely nothing going on between her and Akiyama. To her, their relationship is nothing more than pure friendship. Enomoto calmly questions whether Akiyama feels the same way, which only makes Nakamura double down. She confidently recalls asking him to be friends, and he immediately agreed. In her mind, that settles everything. Enomoto bursts into laughter, remarking that the whole thing sounds less like high schoolers and more like children declaring their first friendship. As Nakamura continues talking, her face slowly turns bright red without her noticing. Enomoto, on the other hand, notices immediately. Watching her ramble, she quietly wonders why Nakamura is so fixated on Akiyama in the first place. Their attention is interrupted when Enomoto points out a limited-time parfait on the menu. Nakamura instantly lights up, eagerly agreeing to order it. She casually mentions that Akiyama is planning to make curry that night, and proudly admits she chipped in her own money for better meat. Just thinking about it makes her excited. Inamoto comments that living together actually sounds fun, the way Nakamura describes it. She agrees wholeheartedly and even suggests that Enomoto should try living with someone too. After all, it saves money. She hesitates, clearly unconvinced. Their conversation shifts when they pass a shop displaying swimsuits on sale. Nakamura remembers that Goto recently got his driver's license and excitedly suggests a group trip to the beach. Her eyes then land on a swimsuit, and her imagination immediately runs wild. She gets a mischievous idea, picturing how shocked Akiyama would be if she wore it at home, maybe even layered under an apron. Enomoto shuts the idea down instantly, reminding her to be careful. Nakamura brushes it off confidently, claiming she's stronger than he is anyway, and could easily handle herself. She even starts explaining how shorter people supposedly have an advantage in throws. Enomoto sighs and changes tactics, asking something she's clearly been thinking about for a while. Nakamura is usually very guarded around guys, so why is Akiyama different? Nakamura pauses. She doesn't have a clear answer. Maybe it's just because his reactions are funny. Enomoto watches her quietly, the conclusion already obvious. No matter how Nakamura tries to explain it, the truth is clear. She's flirting with the guy she likes, and only someone completely oblivious wouldn't notice that. As Nakamura returns home, Akiyama greets her from the kitchen, already in the middle of preparing dinner. The curry roux is out, and he casually asks whether she's okay with mixing medium and hot together. She steps inside, completely unfazed and, unfortunately for him, looking far too cute in her shorts. Before he can finish his sentence, her mischievous side kicks in. With a perfectly timed grin, she pulls out the swimsuit set she just bought and holds it up. Akiyama instantly turns his head away, flustered beyond belief. He awkwardly comments that she bought new garment, only for her to snap back that it's a swimsuit. Definitely a swimsuit. She presses it toward him anyway, proudly declaring that it looks great on him. When he still refuses to look, she shoves it closer, demanding proper attention. Cornered, Akiyama blurts out the safest compliment his panicking brain can manage, mumbling something about how soft and comfortable the fabric looks. That's when he suddenly grabs her wrist. His expression hardens, not angry, but serious. He tells her that teasing guys like this is dangerous and that she really shouldn't do it. The grip tightens, and Nakamura freezes. Her thoughts race. Those words sound exactly like what Enomoto warned her about earlier. She snaps back, reminding him that she's taken him down before and that someone like him wouldn't stand a chance. In one swift motion, she's pressed against the wall instead. Their distance disappears. His body is far too close. Nakamura shuts her eyes, caught completely off guard. Akiyama speaks quietly now. He admits he admires her strength and her desire to be as fearless as Rirururu, but no matter how strong she is, she's still a lady, and he begs her not to take risks with other men. That's when Nakamura explodes. She accuses him of taking advantage of the situation just to act possessively. Akiyama recoils instantly, loudly denying it. He insists that's not what he meant at all. She fires back just as fiercely, warning him never to say something like that to any girl other than her. Without missing a beat, he snaps right back, pointing out that now she's the one acting possessive. The two stand frozen, words hanging in the air, and just like that, both of them deny the same thing at the same time. She smiles brightly and holds up the DVD. She wants to watch it with him. He shakes his head and says he has plans to play a game with his friends. Her excitement falls instantly. She can't believe he denies her like that. He explains that he really has friends, not from work, but from school and hobbies. He needs the TV for a while. She crosses her arms and feels frustrated. She has no idea what to do now. He tells her to watch a different anime, the one they saw before, which is streaming online. She pouts, feeling treated like a child, but slowly sets up her own screen. Minutes pass. He talks to his friends in the game, giving commands and making moves quickly. She sits nearby, eyes wide, watching her DVD. She mimics the fight scenes with her fingers, heart racing from the action and from being near him. She jumps and cheers at his gameplay, as if he just won a big tournament. Every move he makes looks amazing to her. She leans closer, fascinated and a little flustered. A quiet tension grows between them. Night comes. She shouts at every exciting moment. He barely notices, focused on his game. She watches, thrilled and happy to be near him. Even when his friends speak over the mic, she stays close, trying not to interrupt. He whispers for her to be quiet so the others don't hear. She grins, enjoying the moment, feeling a small, unspoken connection with him. The battle reaches its peak. The character fights desperately, landing the final strike just in time. Enemies collapse from every direction, the chaos settles, and the screen bursts with quest clear. He finishes the fight with the calm precision of a seasoned player. She reacts as if he has won a championship, her excitement spilling over. The friends on the other side of the mic whine at the sudden outburst, and he leans close, gesturing to stay quiet, careful that the others do not hear. For a moment, she pretends to listen, but curiosity wins. Her fingers creep over the controller, nudging the character, and the digital avatar spins wildly. Excitement lights up her face as she leans forward, fascinated by how her small movements send the character into frantic motion. He glances back, catching her mischievous grin, and shakes his head with mild exasperation. The spinning continues, and he can't help joking to his friends about the chaotic display. She freezes for a second, then dives back in, hiding behind the screen and giggling at her own cleverness. Soon, the voice chat fills with ghost stories, tales of haunted servers, and in-game glitches, adding to the chaotic fun. She leans closer, curious despite herself, headphones pressed to catch every word. He sighs, trying to remind everyone of the absurdity of it all. Her muffled squeals escape anyway, and he instinctively tries to quiet her. She protests in her own silent way, the playful struggle turning into a game of its own. He mutters about living alone and the strange twists life throws his way. She watches him, eyes glinting, finding ways to make him flinch without saying a word. A poke here, a mischievous glance there, and exaggerated reactions to every digital mishap. Even when he scolds her, her energy draws him in. The game ends, and the screen fades out. He coughs suddenly, spilling a little coffee, claiming he choked, while she narrows her eyes suspiciously. He tries to play it off, grateful that the friends on the other end start logging off one by one. The special quest is done. Night settles in, but she stays on edge, her gaze fixed on the controller. She notices another player's avatar, a girl, and her frustration flares. He explains casually, trying to calm her, but she refuses to back down. The thought of someone else playing the game sparks a competitive fire, and she insists she'll play it herself. He warns her to take it slow, explaining that it's not just about pressing buttons. It's about rhythm, timing, finesse. She ignores him, slamming and mashing buttons with exaggerated force, bouncing in her seat with determination. They clash over the game well into the night. His precise movements collide with her chaotic enthusiasm, laughter spilling over each failed combo. She ignores him, slamming and mashing buttons with exaggerated force. They argue over the game late into the night. His precise movements collide with her chaotic energy, and laughter spills over every failed combo. Morning comes, and the first commute to work feels heavier. Their conversation inevitably drifts to last night's marathon gaming session. She complains about sore fingers. He teases her lightly about technique, so she counters with praise that makes him blush. Enomoto overhears, wide-eyed. Her reaction is a mix of shock and disapproval. Once you start something like this, she mutters, you'd better commit for life. Akiyama stammers, trying to explain, but she just shakes her head, amusement and disbelief on her face. Nakamura is not paying attention to the trouble she caused. The scene shifts, and the night becomes a battlefield of stubbornness and teasing. Nakamura barks at him like a mischievous storm, calling him an old man, accusing him of talking nonsense. He tries to reason with her, pointing out things she shouldn't do. Going to a club at night, the flashing lights, the crowd, and even her belly button daring to peek from her outfit. She fires back, bold and unbothered, daring him to follow her if he cares so much. Reluctantly, he goes. The club hits him like a dazzling wave. Flashing lights everywhere, bodies moving in rhythm, a mix of flashy clothes and loud music. He feels completely out of place, a nerd among extroverts, staring wide-eyed as the energy surrounds him. At the bar, familiar faces greet her, calling her by name. He awkwardly asks if it's okay for him to be there, worried about club etiquette. She laughs it off. No dress code, everyone is welcome. The night is chaotic, playful, and slightly overwhelming for him. She nudges him to use their drink tickets, and he hesitates, noting the intimidating guy who gave them out. Clubs feel like a maze of rules and flashy strangers. As they grab their drinks, he cautiously asks if she comes here often. She admits it only when invited, keeping it casual, teasing him with her nonchalance. Suddenly, friends arrive, call her name, and tease her about whether he is her boyfriend. She shoots them a grin, calling him just a friend, while hinting at someone else joining later. Perfect timing, she thinks, as the night continues with laughter, awkwardness, and a strange sense of adventure for him. Nakamura grabs him suddenly, tugging him onto the dance floor. He's completely out of his element, never done this in his life, but she moves with the confidence of a goddess, every step fluid, every motion teasing. He flails beside her, stiff and awkward, thinking he'll never get used to this. She laughs and guides him, showing him a few moves from that dance she taught him before, the ones she always calls riru-ruru steps. Slowly, he starts catching the rhythm. The beat sinks in. For the first time, he realizes he's actually clubbing, feeling the energy of the floor, maybe even starting to enjoy it. Suddenly, the DJ drops the next set, and she points it out. He spins around in shock. The DJ is Go-To, completely unexpected. The crowd cheers, the lights flash, and Go-To dominates the music with effortless cool. Nakamura grins, delighted, and tugs him close, teasingly linking arms, leaning near him as if to spark jealousy. He freezes, unsure how to react, while she laughs uncontrollably. When the set ends, Go-To notices her and calls out. He spots Akiyama and immediately suspects him, grabbing him by the hand. They retreat to the stairs, and Go-To questions him about their odd closeness at work. Akiyama panics, insisting they're just friends, but Go-To won't let it go. Desperate, Akiyama tries to steer the conversation, praising Go-To's DJ skills, complimenting how the music flows, trying to keep the focus on the party. Go-To, noticing, smirks, and declares that understanding music also proves understanding of people, and jokingly accepts him as a rival in love. Akiyama freezes, flustered, insisting it's not like that. Go-To just laughs and insists on exchanging contact info. Later, as the night winds down, Nakamura is completely drunk, chattering endlessly on his shoulders. She calls him a handy taxi and refuses to be quiet. He worries that maybe she got drunk because he was there and wonders if it would have been better if he weren't. Still, she rambles on about coming back, dragging him along, while he quietly tries to remember his own dance moves. Back at home, she collapses on the bed, exhausted but happy. Meanwhile, messages from Go-To arrive, warning Akiyama to stay away from her. He shrugs mentally, reasoning that they both have their homes, and it's not exactly a lie. The next morning, Nakamura lounges in her usual casual clothes, casually mentioning that Enomoto is coming over today. Akiyama barely hears her. The doorbell rings. He rushes over to check, but his eyes catch something on the floor, a pair of panties. Panic hits him instantly. His brain freezes as the door keeps ringing. He shouts that he's coming while scrambling to pick it up, afraid the delivery guy will see. Parcel in hand, he stares blankly, trying to figure out what to do next. Should he put it back quietly, tell her she dropped it, or hide it in her drawer before she notices? His mind races. Memories of her doing laundry earlier make him suspect. What if she left it on purpose? Is this some kind of trap? A teasing plan? Determined, he marches back and announces, holding the underwear like a prized cake, that he isn't falling for her tricks and that she dropped her panties. Nakamura freezes, utterly shocked. Then she bursts into tears like a child, while he bows repeatedly, murmuring apologies, trying to comfort her. It only makes her yell at him more, telling him to stop having any manners at all. He's speechless, insisting he never imagined anything wrong. Suddenly, she grabs his underwear, holding it up with exaggerated emojis, and demands to see his reaction. He freezes again. Is it fun for her? She insists it isn't. It's supposed to make him ashamed. If he doesn't act embarrassed, the joke fails. He insists he is embarrassed, but she shakes her head and decides there's only one solution. Before he can protest, she puts the underwear on his head and commands him to dance. He flails like a monkey, hopping and spinning, and she can't help but burst into laughter, finally feeling a little better. The doorbell rings again. Nakamura rushes off to open it, forgetting everything. Akiyama warns her not to open it if it's someone for him. Then the world collapses. Enomoto stands at the door, staring at him with the underwear on his head. Akiyama slumps onto the couch, hiding his face in shame. Nakamura finally remembers she tried to warn him about Enomoto coming, but she forgot herself. Akiyama tries to explain everything to Enomoto, but she waves him off, saying she's not interested in the stuff they're into. He insists, stumbling over his words, trying to get her to understand. Enomoto brings over a dessert, a perfectly set custard pudding, and comments that she worried about Nakamura being sloppy, but this place is surprisingly nice. Nakamura quickly assures her that Akiyama likes to keep things clean as she carefully opens the pudding. The conversation drifts to cooking. Nakamura admits she sometimes cooks, and Enomoto asks about the laundry. The question hits them like a hammer. They nervously explain that they do it separately. Nakamura panics, thinking about the lack of a dryer. She blurts that Akiyama might see her panties. Enomoto calmly suggests hanging them up. Nakamura gasps, then realizes that doing so would mean seeing Akiyama's underwear too. Enomoto shrugs, pointing out that she already has. Both of them blush furiously. Nakamura mutters that she suspected this might happen, while Enomoto scolds Akiyama for going too easy on her, reminding him that Nakamura basically barged in. Akiyama tries to explain, saying that Nakamura is doing her best in her own way. At first, her pushiness was a headache, maybe impossible to handle, but living together has turned out surprisingly fun. Nakamura nods enthusiastically, agreeing that all it takes is living with a cute, lively girl like her. Enomoto laughs and warns him not to get ahead of himself or act like she's his mom. She promises to check in again someday, and leaves, leaving the apartment feeling a little lighter, but still full of lingering, awkward tension. The next morning, she hangs the laundry on the balcony, trying to be careful. He freezes mid-motion. Seeing all the clothes, some of which belong to him, makes his brain short-circuit. Nakamura casually remarks that they're already past the point of modesty. She immediately lays down rules like a stern housekeeper, insisting socks can't be balled up and shirts can't be inside out. Akiyama can't help but notice how seriously she's taking it, his thoughts a mix of awe and panic. Then he notices his own boxers hanging awkwardly. He moves them quickly, only to spot some of her more personal items. Nakamura shouts that, of course, certain things must be kept private while drying. Akiyama begs her to at least tidy his things too. Her response is instant, playful, and merciless. If he's seen her laundry out of order, he's getting a funny punishment for the day. The scene turns as she freezes in surprise, realizing there's an offline meetup. Akiyama keeps talking to his friends in the game, explaining how they meet in real life every so often, to nerd out and strengthen their friendship. She scribbles her excitement on paper, she wants to come too. He hesitates for a moment but can't hide that he expected her enthusiasm. Later, they arrive at the meetup like a cute young couple. His friends freeze in shock at her presence. Confused, they ask him what this means. Nobody mentioned bringing a girl. He fumbles, thinking fast. One friend guesses she's a gal cosplayer. Another wonders if she's the outgoing, loud colleague he used to complain about. Akiyama waves it off, insisting that's ancient history. As things settle, his friends introduce themselves. One is Riki, the other Gil. She brightens up and introduces herself as Nakamura. They note that Utena will be a bit late. The air is thick with playful tension, and Akiyama tries to act casual, though every glance between them carries the weight of a quietly mischievous and chaotic energy. The atmosphere shifts as Gil studies her closely, trying to place where he has seen her before. Riki adds that she looks familiar too, though not exactly a gal. Gil suddenly lights up and announces he will scan his extensive database to identify her. Moments later, he triumphantly declares her as Magical Girl Rirururu. Nakamura freezes, shocked that he knows about it. She mentions she's even in costume this time, from Dark Astrid. Riki confirms that everyone knows Rirururu, and even admits to having written a doujinshi about her. Nakamura's eyes widen when she realizes that Akiyama owns a collection of those comics, some more adult in nature. She teases Riki, asking if he drew Rirururu, and he defends himself, saying that not all his work is explicit. His sketches, he assures, are suitable for all ages. Suddenly, Riki pulls out his sketchbook and starts drawing Nakamura. She watches in awe as he recreates her likeness perfectly. Gil exclaims in amazement, calling him a god of art, explaining that Riki always draws long lines at his art fair booth. Riki shrugs it off as ancient history, asking if she would have been in elementary school when she first loved Rirururu. She beams, recalling how she used to sing and dance as the character all the time. Gil points out that the karaoke machine probably has all the songs from the series, and Nakamura asks if she can sing one. With their approval, she begins, and soon all three are dancing wildly to the music. The moment is pure nerding out. She barely knows them, yet they immediately click. The two adults are extroverted and sociable, making the scene feel chaotic and fun. Nakamura finally reveals the reason she wanted to be friends with him. She knew about Rirururu. She laughs, admitting that if it had been anyone else, she might not have clicked as easily. The group bursts into more laughter and cheers, the meetup turning into an energetic mix of fandom, nostalgia, and shared excitement. The energy in the room spikes as she teases him through her singing, hinting that he's jealous. Akiyama protests, flustered, but she just laughs, cackling at his reaction. Riki chimes in, remarking that it's been ages since he last danced like this, and he's already out of breath. Gil nudges him, reminding him of the live shows they used to attend, and Nakamura perks up, curious. The two explain that the concerts featured the voice actors performing the songs themselves. Nakamura's eyes widen as she hears about the limited edition Rirururu fan club goods and doujinshi. She eagerly asks to see a copy. Akiyama glances at her, noticing her almost quivering excitement, and softly calls her name. She admits, shaking, that she thought she was a hardcore fan just from collecting plushies and stationery. But now, seeing the real thing, she feels like an amateur. The depth of the otaku world hits her, and she wants to know everything. The friends cheer as the song continues. They dance and nerd out, pointing out details about the anime, and even theme songs from eroge. Nakamura gasps, asking what an eroge is, and rushing to see it, only for Gil to show her to cover her eyes in playful horror. She insists on switching to something from a different genre, but the discussion sparks her curiosity even more, realizing some stories can be deeply emotional. Suddenly, the doorbell rings. She spots Utena-san outside and rushes to get her. Meanwhile, the three of them keep dancing, completely absorbed, nerding out together as the music pulses around them. The meetup becomes a chaotic, joyful blur of fandom, laughter, and shared excitement. The atmosphere shifts as a new girl enters, her presence immediately catching everyone's attention. Utena arrives, apologizing for being late, and the group greets her warmly. Nakamura freezes for a moment, taking in Utena's confident energy, her poise, and her charm. She's exactly the girl from the online game, and seeing her in person makes Nakamura feel a mix of awe and surprise. Akiyama introduces her casually, but Nakamura misinterprets and panics at the thought that Utena might think there's something romantic between them. She awkwardly tries to clarify, waving her hands and stammering, while Utena only smiles knowingly. The group settles in, chatting and laughing naturally, but Nakamura silently observes, feeling a twinge of envy as nothing escapes Utena's sharp eyes. Gil's dark Astrid outfit draws attention, yet Nakamura can't focus on anything except Utena's presence. She admits to herself that Utena is beautiful, skilled, and completely captivating. Akiyama nods in agreement, recalling how different Utena seemed when he first met her, so confident and poised that it left him tongue-tied. A surge of jealousy washes over Nakamura, and she grabs Akiyama's hand and drags him toward the restroom with surprising strength. He hesitates, startled, but she ignores him, pushing and pulling with determination. Her emotions bubble over, jealousy, frustration, and a strange vulnerability she can't hide. She shouts and even sheds tears, feeling overwhelmed. The scene shifts to Nakamura, her energy completely unrestrained as she swings the controller like a weapon, her shouts filling the room. Akiyama groans, trying to calm her down, reminding her that it's late and that she could break the controller. He suggests calling it a day and offers her water, but she refuses, insisting even a sip would be too risky for her nerves. The hallway is dark, and she tiptoes nervously, clutching herself and imagining all sorts of dangers lurking in the shadows. Akiyama points out that turning on the bathroom light would solve the problem, but she panics at the thought of anything reaching her in the toilet. He reluctantly follows, standing outside the door to keep her safe while trying to cover his ears from the chaos inside. Nakamura protests, even though his hands block his ears. He tries to distract himself, thinking she may have already bathed, and even considers singing to drown out the sounds. Still, the noise reaches him, leaving him oddly worried. As the night settles, Akiyama sits outside the bathroom, on guard like a soldier. His mind races with thoughts of monsters, the offline meetup, and Nakamura's surprising interest in games she normally avoids. He recalls her excitement over City of Cursed Souls, her enthusiasm for action, and the jealousy she hinted at when talking about other players. He wonders if her protectiveness is more about keeping friends close than anything else. When Nakamura finishes her bath, she feels a flutter of nerves seeing Akiyama's shadow nearby. Stepping out, she accidentally bumps into him, leaving him frozen in shock. Her presence is overwhelming, turning the situation into a chaotic, almost comical struggle to stay composed. Akiyama's efforts to keep things under control fail completely, as her panicked reactions make him feel like he's navigating a battlefield. Nakamura teases him with a devilish grin, testing his patience, while he tries to stay calm, reminding himself that his goal is to make her feel safe. Hours pass in the apartment's usual odd rhythm. Nakamura wakes suddenly, scared by imaginary figures, and instinctively huddles close for comfort. By morning, the tension eases slightly. Despite the terror and embarrassment, it strengthens an unspoken bond between them. While Nakamura remains determined to continue her gaming adventures, oblivious to the panic she caused Akiyama,